Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Al, and the class of Hunter has finally got one of its biggest reworks yet in this most recent War Within beta build. This is a set of changes that many hunters have dreamed for. We've seen class changes as well as spec-specific changes for survival, marksmanship, beast mastery. We're even seeing a mastery adjustment for the spec of survival, and as you can see based on the length of this video, there's a lot for us to get into. In today's video, I want to do an in-depth overview of all of the different changes that have happened when it comes to this newest revamp for the class of Hunter, which leaves the class in such a good spot that it should definitely be on your radar going forward for the next expansion. Right before that though, if you guys enjoyed these regular in-depth overviews of classes for the War Within beta, make sure to follow the channel. Otherwise, let's dive right in. So here we are. The class of Hunter actually saw some significant changes, and it's a lot to go over. I'm going to try to break this video down in particular sections, starting with the base class talent tree, and then go over how each and every one of its individual specs is looking with this newest update. Keep in mind that these talents are still a work in progress, and it doesn't mean that any of these additions are set in stone. They're still looking for plenty of feedback to be able to adjust these talents going forward, but this is what hunters, as of this build, have to work with so far. Starting off in the class talent tree, which offers you quite a lot of options, and you'll notice that the actual structure is a little different. One thing you will notice is just about every single spec as well as the class tree is going to resemble more similar to what other classes have gotten. And it looks like that is for a reason, because those layouts seem to work. The talents are set up in such a way where there's a lot more customizability of which abilities you can access all together. And one of the important things you'll notice is some of the more core talents will be found towards the center, which are the easiest for most players to be able to reach. And this applies for the class talents, but also the individual spec talents between beast mastery, marksmanship, and survival. So starting off in the very first row, we have things such as kill shot, which go into improve kill shot, and then you have things such as concussive shot, as well as tranquilizing shot. In the middle, we have things like post haste for extra mobility, hunter's avoidance for additional defense against AoE damage like in raids, as well as natural mending with rejuvenating wind over in the left hand side. From there, you get to customize your build a little bit with things like tranquilizing shot or maybe even tar trap. And then you get more familiar talents such as survival of the fittest, which is your main defensive at a 2-minute cooldown, entrapment, which is an upgrade for tar trap, your interrupt depending on the spec with the survival or one of the range specs, your misdirection ability, but also a new set of talents that upgrades tranquilizing shot in a very minor way, where they have the Kodo Tranquilizer, which allows you to add one additional magic effect from the Trank Shot. So Trank Shot will remove 1 enrage and 2 magic effects from the enemy target, or you can instead have Tranquilizing Shot that removes only an enrage effect. When it does that, its cooldown is reduced by 5 seconds, so you can use it a little bit more often. But from there on, we get to customize our talents a little bit more, with the next row adding a couple of new options, from Scout Instincts off of your misdirection. You cannot be slowed below 80% of normal movement speed while Aspect of the Cheetah is active, which adds some much needed mobility. With no hard feelings when you have to misdirect aggro from yourself to your pet, the pet actually takes less damage for 5 seconds, which can make him a bit tankier and a perfect talent for open world and solo content. Further down, we have Disruptive Rounds, which is already a talent that exists when tranquilizing shot successfully dispels an enemy, or when you interrupt an enemy you gain 10 focus. For your counter shot, we get Specialized Arsenal, where abilities such as Kill Command will deal additional damage, and the sound is adjusted depending on your spec. Over from the Survival of the Fittest, we have Lone Survivor, which reduces the cooldown of Survival of the Fittest by 30 seconds from a 2-minute down to a 1.5 minute. Further right below Survival of the Fittest, we have a new talent called Padded Armor, which gives Survival of the Fittest an additional charge, which is a game changer. This gives Survival of the Fittest much more of a defensive value, but also with a shorter cooldown from Lone Survivor, the ability itself becomes just so much more potent as a defensive, which is a huge upgrade for all hunters that doesn't even delve into how some of the defenses are modified with your hero talents. And lastly, we have Scare Beast as the final one in the row. From there on, we have a couple of options such as Binding Shot, which is your good old stun. We have Explosive Shot, which is available down the middle for every hunter spec, making it much easier to pick up. And then things such as Intimidation. Now, Intimidation does baseline work off of your pet, but if you play Marksmanship Hunter, you may want to pick up the upgrade of Territorial Instincts, where Intimidation cannot be cast without a pet. And it also stuns 2 additional nearby enemies for 50% effectiveness, which gives your Intimidation a bit of this AoE stun value. Sprawling off of Intimidation, we also have Scrappy, where casting Kill Command or basic class ability will help reduce the cooldown of Intimidation and Binding Shot by half a second, so it lets you get some of those CCs a little bit quicker. To the right of that, we have Trigger Finger, which is more of a damage talent that allows you and your pet 2.5% increased attack speed with 2 points stacked into it, 5% increased attack speed. This effect is increased by 100% if you do not have an active pet for Marksmanship Hunters. In the middle, we have traps such as Steel Trap or High Explosive, which are exactly the same as they are on live. On the right hand side, we have a new choice now between Scatter Shot as well as Bursting Shot, which are now both available for all 3 specs of Hunters, even as Survival, so it adds quite a bit of crowd control to work with. Right below Binding Shot, we have Tar-Coated Bindings, where Binding Shot stun duration is increased by 1 additional second, which makes the current control a little bit stronger. Or you can always go with Keen Eyesight, which is going to be one of your more combat-ready talent options. From there on, your talents open up. The talent choice between Bursting Shot and Scatter Shot goes into Quick Load, where every drop below a certain amount of health, Bursting Shot or Scatter Shot will have the cooldown reset immediately, with this effect occurring once every 25 seconds, which can be great for defensive situations, particularly moments such as PvP. To the right of that, we have Camouflage, which is the same camouflage, grants you stealth, but also heals you over time. To the left of that, we have Binding Shackles, which allows rooted targets by Binding Shot, knock back enemies by Explosive High Trap, or incapacitated targets from Scatter Shot, or stunned enemies from Intimidation to deal 10% less damage to the Hunter for 8 seconds after the effect wears off. To the left of that is going to be Trailblazer, and right below Scrappy we have Kindling Flare. Stealth enemies revealed by Flare remain revealed for 3 seconds after exiting the flare, which is kind of a useful one for PvP content. And an extra, we have Improved Traps, which kind of heads off from Quick Load as well as Camouflage, where cooldown of Charge Trap, Steel Trap, High Explosive Trap, and Freezing Trap is reduced by 5 seconds. Right below Camouflage, we have Ghillie Suit, where you take 20% reduced damage while camo is active, and this effect persists for 3 seconds after you leave Camouflage, which may give Camouflage, at least in PvP situations, some sort of a defensive value. To the left of that, we have Born to be Wild, a very popular talent that allows you to gain abilities such as Aspect of the Cheetah, Survival of the Fittest, and Aspect of the Turtle a little bit quicker. To the left of that, we have Moment of Opportunity, where whenever one of your trap triggers, you gain Aspect of the Cheetah for 3 seconds, though this effect can only occur once every minute. To the left of that is Serrated Tips, where you gain 5% more critical strike from all critical strike sources, which I imagine would make it a little bit easier for you to build into crit from gear, and you'll notice that every single Hunter spec now has a bit more crit-wise interaction. To the left of that, we have Roar Sacrifice, a very popular PvP talent that allows your pet to protect you from crit damage taken, though the pet is going to take a portion of the damage that you would take from that crit, a minute cooldown, and it is a PvE talent, or rather a class talent, that isn't a PvP option specifically, so you will have to commit into this if you're looking to play Hunter for PvP. To the left of that, we have Pathfinding, which grants you additional movement speed, and now we have a couple of different capstone options towards the bottom row. We have things such as Unnatural Causes, where you damage from any damage over time effects, which every spec of Hunter is going to be able to spec into if you wish. All those effects are increased by 10%. This effect is increased by 50% on targets below 20% health, so even more execute value for all specs of Hunters. Right below that, we have Death Chakram, which is exactly the same Death Chakram, 45-second cooldown, does a bunch of physical damage, and rips the target open, making him take 15% more damage while the Chakram debuff is on him. And to the left of that, we have some personal utility with Emergency Salve. Feign Death and Aspect of the Turtle removes poison and disease effects from you, which has some niche uses, maybe in PvE, maybe in PvP. Overall though, the class challenge tree side of Hunters offers quite a lot more convenience buffs and a lot of opportunity to customize your talented build. And there's a lot of freedom of how you can customize the talents with so many different talents left over after you pick up all of the nodes that do impact your overall endgame performance. And you'll also notice that certain things are now shared amongst multiple specs, from your Bursting Shot, which is now available for Survival, Marksman, and Beast Mastery, a free Explosive Shot, which every spec can now specialize into, and some specs will be able to get more value out of this Explosive Shot ability. The Pet Stun is awesome because Marksmanship Hunter's gonna utilize it as an ability, and even having a personal dispel with Emergency Salve, I actually like this kind of loadout completely. From there on, however, I do want to move on into the Beast Mastery talent tree and go over every single talent row by row and what is different and what has been adjusted. For Beast Mastery in particular, I think this will be the easy one to start with too, because for the most part the spec doesn't change nearly as much as the others do. First ability is going to be the easy one, Kill Command. From there you can pick up things such as Barb Shot, Animal Companion, and Cobra Shot, and then from there you have a couple of other options. In the middle row we'll have AoE focused talents if you're trying to build for an M+ build. On the left hand side we'll have things such as Pack Tactics, we'll have Aspect of the Beast, you'll have War Orders, as well as Thrill of the Hunt, and those talents kind of open up to some of the other talents in the rows. Left hand side opens up with talents such as Go for the Throat, where Kill Command deals increased critical strike damage equal to 100% of your critical strike chance, so the more crit you have, the harder Kill Command's crits can hit for. On the right hand side, we have Laceration. When your pets critical strike, they cause the target to bleed for 50% of the damage dealt over 6 seconds, so Beast Mastery Hunters are looking to specialize into critical strike damage a lot more going forward. In the next row we have talents on the right hand side going into things such as Wild Call, a very popular and a very common talent that most Beast Mastery Hunters play into that allows you to reset your charges of Barb Shot. From there though, on the left hand side we have Killer Cobra, where Kill Shot applies Serpent Sting for 18 seconds. Beast Mastery Hunters normally don't specialize into things such as Serpent Sting, but if you do end up playing around Kill Shot ability, which is fairly easy to achieve if you end up playing the Dark Ranger build, which gives you quite a bit of that kill shot potential, but also talents such as Hunter's Prey, where Kill Command has a chance to make a next kill shot usable against a target regardless of their health, and there could be some synergy to be had there with a bit more of a damage over time type of playstyle. Over in the middle row, we have things such as Beast Cleave, which open up to talents such as Training Expert, Kill Cleave, as well as Kindred Spirits, which are all the same talents you'll find on the live realms. On the left hand side, going from Go for the Throat, we have things such as Alpha Predator, which gives Kill Command second charge. Right below that, we have Improved Kill Command, which buffs his damage by 5%, not the most exciting talent ever. But then we have Cobra Senses on the left, where Cobra Shot reduces the remaining cooldown of Kill Command by additional 1 second, so all these talents kind of interact with the Kill Command ability. And further down we have things such as Stomp, which are a fantastic option for AoE content, and on the right hand side we have Dire Beast, which opens up to a couple of other options also. In the next row, right before the next set of unlocks, we have things such as Dire Frenzy, which isn't completely final and it's kind of buggy, but I assume the Dire Frenzy probably increases the duration of Dire Beast by 5 additional seconds. At least that's my assumption here. Below Dire Beast we have new interactions such as Huntmaster's Call, and if you played Hunter back in Legion you'll be excited about this one, because here we actually get to open up into some talents that add even more interactivity within Hunter gameplay. Every 3 casts of Dire Beast sounds the Horn of Valor, summoning either Haughty or Fenrir to battle. With Haughty, you increase the damage of all of your pets by 15%, and Fenrir will instead pounce onto your primary target, inflicting a heavy bleed that deals a set amount of damage over 8 seconds and grants you 10% haste. Fenrir in particular does quite a bit of damage from the little bit of testing that we've been able to do on Beast Mastery Hunter, and Fenrir is a lot of fun to play into. And then we have things such as Dire Command, where Kill Command has a 30% chance to also summon a Dire Beast to attack your target for 8 seconds. In the middle row we have things such as Bestial Wrath, which is a cornerstone of most Beast Mastery Hunter builds. To the left of that, off of Stomp, we have a couple of different options such as Savagery, where Kill Command damage is increased by 10%, Barb Shot lasts 2 seconds longer, or you can go into things such as Barrage, which we haven't really seen Beast Master use in a while, but they did make it a little bit different. So Barrage now is a channeled ability, 60 focus, 20-second cooldown that does a barrage of spray of average physical damage usable while moving, and also grants the ability of Beast Cleave while it is active, so now there's a little bit more ways to incorporate Barrage into the Beast Mastery playstyle. To the left of that though, if you're looking for more damage over time elements, which is quite a lot of, is a Murder of Crows. Previously this used to be a dot that you would place on a target, but now it's more of a passive effect. Every 5 casts of Kill Command, summon a Murder of Crows that will deal physical damage over 15 seconds. In our next row, we have some of the different capstones that now create more of a theme to it. Bottom right hand side is going to start with Basilisk Collar. Every damage over time effect on a target increases the damage they receive from your pet by 5 seconds. So now you have a way to apply these dots to then augment the damage your pet does. So for every bleed, every poison effect, every debuff that you put on the enemy target, every one of them is going to buff the damage of your pet's attacks by 5% each, which is only going to make that damage even stronger when you put 2 points with 10% damage debuff, basically building up to like a mini vendetta just for your pet. And if you want to make that damage even stronger, you can pick up Bloodshed, which adds an extra bleed to the target that causes the pet also to do 15% more damage to that primary target. Bloodshed can further be modified with Venomous Bite, where Bloodshed increases all damage taken from your pet by an additional 15% on top of that, and Kill Command deals 20% increased damage to the target with the Bloodshed debuff, which makes your pet ravenous. It absolutely just allows your pet to savage that target with intense amount of single target damage. Though if you want to modify this to be a little bit better for cleave situations, you can go with Shower of Blood, where Bloodshed will now hit 2 additional nearby targets instead to make the whole playstyle of Bloodshed and dot-based gameplay a little bit more locked in. On the left hand side, we have more familiar options such as Killer Instinct, where Kill Command deals 50% more damage against enemies that are below 35% health. Further down, that goes into Call of the Wild, a very popular and a familiar talent for Beastmaster Hunters, which is an upgrade to either Wild Instincts, where while Call of the Wild is active, each time you kill command, that damage keeps building from all of your pets, stacking up to 10 times. Or go for Blood Frenzy, where while Call of the Wild is active, it's a bit better for cleave situations as it allows the effect of Beast Cleave to last for the entire duration of Call of the Wild, and allows you to also summon pets that additionally will also use the ability of Stomp for additional AoE damage. Either side of these talents on the right hand side or left hand side can be easily complemented with the talents in the middle row, with things such as Explosive Venom, where every 5 casts of Cobra Shot or Multi-Shot will apply Serpent Sting to a target hit, the same Serpent Sting that can be applied from Kill Shot as well. Or left hand side, we have Master Handler. Each time Barb Shot deals damage, the cooldown of your kill command is reduced by half a second. Or you can go further down to upgrade the ability of Bestial Wrath, reducing its cooldown by 12 seconds. From there on, we have all the common ways to upgrade Bestial Wrath, from Brutal Companion. When Barb Shot causes Frenzy to stack up to 3 times, your pet will immediately deal a special attacks 50% bonus damage, or Scent of Blood, which allows Bestial Wrath to grant you 2 charges of Barb Shot, which synergizes well with Brutal Companion. You can always go with Killer Cobra, where while Bestial Wrath is active, Cobra Shot resets the cooldown of Kill Command, or further down, Piercing Fangs. While Bestial Wrath is active, your pet's critical strike damage is increased by 35%. This combined together with some of the other crit-based abilities, Beastmaster becomes a much heavier crit-based class in order to amplify their damage. And I imagine most builds will probably end up going into partial aspects of Bestial Wrath, picking up the basics, and then customizing the builds a little bit better, but mostly sticking to the left-hand side or right-hand side of capstones to help really solidify a lot of their build. And overall, how does this spec feel to play when it comes to dungeons? Now, while I did record footages of me doing dungeons, the damage at first didn't seem all that good until I got to test it on a dummy. Right now, for some reason, details can only track your primary pet. So for example, pet 1 is able to be tracked on the details, but pet 2 is nowhere to be found. So the damage looks a little more skewed, whereas a Beastmaster Hunter, you may be looking at your damage and thinking, okay, well, you know, beta probably shouldn't be taking a look at these numbers too heavily, but also the add-on isn't able to track your pet's damage nearly as well. So it seems the Beast Mastery may look like it's doing less damage, but you're probably not nearly as far behind everybody else as you think you are, just the add-on is having a hard time capturing both of your pets at the same time. That being said, when you're not concerned about the actual damage done, it doesn't really feel all that different to play, which is going to be a boon for many of you looking to play Beastmaster Hunters. So Beast Mastery is one of the core things about it, is it's really easy to pick up for new players, but also older players. There's quite a bit of depth with the spec without adding a rotational mechanical changes and complexity in terms of the buttons that you press. There's now more uses and more depth behind the buttons that you press, but you don't necessarily add more buttons into the Beast Mastery playstyle, which I think is a good way of going forward. They're not trying to, and this is mostly for this expansion in particular, every single one of the classes they're updating or adjusting, they're not trying to give those classes any more additional rotational complexity, or complexity for the sake of being difficult and tedious. Rather, they would like to give you more depth without adding that top-end complexity. So I really like the direction with Beast Mastery, and it's probably one of the better specs that doesn't really feel all that different, but when it comes to actually picking it up, you do notice all these new gameplay elements that now you can play into, whether you want to empower your pets with damage over time effects, or you want to play more of the old school fashion, the Call of the Wild with bigger cooldowns and powerful pets. So you can really build your Beast Mastery to be more of what you've loved about Beast Mastery from Dragonflight, for example, or try some of the newer options for this expansion going forward. And from there on, we're going to move on to Marksmanship Hunters. Beast Mastery was a very straightforward spec. Marksmanship is where things kind of go up a notch. Marksmanship Hunters will start out with things such as aim shot at the very beginning with precise shots, multi-shot, as well as rapid fire easily to spec into. From there on, very similar to Beast Mastery, multi-shot allows them access to unlock the trick shots ability, their main primary way of doing AoE damage, but also ways to modify your rapid fire ability with both streamline as well as certain shots which buff the damage but also give it some aim shot interactions as well. Or on the right hand side, we have things such as crack shot, which causes arcane shot and chimera shot focus to be reduced by 20% baseline, and improved steady shot, which allows you to start regenerating focus more regularly. Precise shots also has been adjusted a little bit before we really head into the rest of the spec. Aim shots cause you next to arcane shots or multi shots, which is a guarantee. No longer does it affect one or two abilities kind of at random. It'll always grant you a guaranteed 2 arcane shots or multi shots to deal 70% more damage and have their focus cost be reduced by 50% less, making them much easier to integrate as part of your rotation. On the right hand side, we have things such as Master Marksman, which allows you a way to add additional bleed damage based on your critical strike chances. And on the left hand side, we have Penetrating Shots, where you gain critical strike damage for all of your abilities equal to 20% of your critical strike chance, so again, even more crit style interactions. From there on, however, we do get talents that kind of split off into different themes. On the left hand side, we have new ways to modify certain abilities such as Careful Aim, which gives aim shot a bonus whenever enemies are above certain percent health, Fan the Hammer, which allows rapid fire to shoot 3 additional shots, which is an interesting option, Barrage, which is very similar to Barrage without the new interactions that it gives for Beast Mastery, but now there's a new talent right below Barrage that further upgrades it. Well, Barrage now instead shoots rapid fires at your target instead of random pellets and bullets, though these can only affect up to 4 nearby enemies at 30% effectiveness, but the cooldown of the ability is also being increased to 40 seconds. So if you want to have a new way to be able to gain more uses out of your rapid fire and interact with talents that buff your rapid fire, now you can do so through the Barrage ability. On the left hand side, we have Death Blow, which allows you aim shot and rapid fire a chance to make an next kill shot more usable. Further down, we have Killer Accuracy, which gives kill shot higher critical strike chance and critical strike damage increased by 20%. In the middle row, we have more of AoE options, where we have things such as heavy ammo or light ammo, which allows you to kind of augment how many enemies you're going to be cleaving within your trick shot ability. Further below that, we have Night Hunter, where aim shot and rapid fire critical strike chance increased by 5%, even more crit interactions. Below that, we have In the Rhythm, where once rapid fire fully finishes, you gain haste. And down below, we have Lone Wolf. Then we also have stuff on the right hand side. Off of trick shots, we have things such as Bullet Storm, each additional target hit by rapid fire or aim shot that has a ricochet off of your trick shots increases the damage of your multi-shot by 7% for 15 seconds, stacking up to 10 times. And then further down below that, we have things such as Tactical Reload. Right hand side, we have Lock and Load, which is the same Lock and Load. Ranged auto attacks have a chance to proc Lock and Load, make an aim shot cost no focus and be instant. To the right of that, we have Steady Focus, where Steady Focus, using Steady Shot twice in a row, grants you additional haste for 15 seconds. Serpent Stalker's Trickery, which allows aim shot to also fire Serpent Sting at the primary target. And to the right of that, we have Chimera Shot, which has splitting damage, dealing additional nature damage to the primary target and some frost damage to a secondary target. Below that, we have execute talents such as Bullseye, as well as Hydra's Bite, which is a little bit new, a little bit more of a damage over time interaction for marksmanship specifically. When aim shot strikes an enemy affected by Serpent Sting, it spreads the Serpent Sting to 2 enemies nearby, and Serpent Sting's damage over time is increased by 20%. So if you want to play a marksmanship with a little bit of damage over time components from Master Marksman to Serpent Stalker's Trickery, then now you can, and there's quite a few new bleed-based talents that you can now add as well as part of your overall build. And then from there, we have some of the capstone choices with new talents that got split off from things such as Killer Accuracy as well as Volley. If you pick up Volley, you can now pick up the talent of Kill Zone. Your spells and attacks, I guess it was supposed to be your abilities and auto attacks, deal 8% increased damage and ignore line of sight against any target within your volley. So if you want to use volley and then hide behind the pillar like in PvP content, you now can do so. And now using your volley against a target allows you to do 8% more damage to them, which gives you a bit of a burst window. On the left hand side, off of Killer Accuracy, down below we have Razor Fragments, which allows you, once you use your trick shot or whenever you gain death blow for your next kill shot, basically kill shot would put up a bleed shredding up to 5 targets nearby for a portion of its damage, which can also help you play into that damage over time type of gameplay. On our right hand side, we have new set of capstones starting with Focused Aim, where aim shot and rapid fire damage is increased by 5%. Right below that, we have Small Game Hunter, where a multi-shot deals 100% increased damage and exposed shot deals 25% increased damage. This changes the gameplay where instead of using your aim shots to proc precise shots, you can just replace them with multi-shots. And right before that, we have Salvo, which allows your next multi-shot or volley to also apply exposed shot to up to 2 targets. So again, provides you even more AoE damage if that is what you choose. On the left hand side, we have more familiar talents that are played on live realms, such as Legacy of the Windrunners, where aim shot coalesces wind arrows that shoot each target dealing physical damage. Each time rapid fire deals damage, there's a 5% chance to coalesce a wind arrow at your target, so now rapid fire gets to benefit from Legacy of the Windrunners as well. Below that, we have Wailing Arrow, which, like the ability of Wailing Arrow that exists on live, this one is also being added for marksmanship, though as a proc through a bonus rather than as a separate ability for you to manage. After summoning 20 wind arrows, your next aim shot shoots a Wailing Arrow, which is an enchanted arrow dealing shadow damage to your target and additional shadow damage to all enemies nearby. Non-player targets are also silenced for 3 seconds and interrupted, so that's an extra way for you to combine additional damage, and it allows you to access Wailing Arrow more regularly without necessarily having an extra button and a cooldown to manage. Rather, it replaces your aim shot while getting all of the benefits of aim shot directly. Below that, we have Readiness, which allows your True Shot to grant you Wailing Arrow instantly, and you generate 2 additional wind arrows while in True Shot. Wailing Arrow resets the cooldown of rapid fire and now generates 2 charges of aim shot, which allows you a new way to augment your gameplay loop off of that Wailing Arrow ability. And if you're going to be speccing into a Dark Ranger, there are some talents that help amplify some of your shadow damage with Darkness Calls. So that talent together with Dark Ranger could be quite synergetic while giving you a little bit more of that familiar marksmanship bursty gameplay loop around your True Shot windows. Speaking of True Shot, we have the same old trusty True Shot down the middle. 2-minute cooldown allows you to reduce the cooldown of aim shot and rapid fire by 70%, causes aim shot to cast faster. While True Shot is active, you generate additional focus. Bottom right, we have Calling the Shots, which gives you cooldown reduction as you spend focus inside of a True Shot window or outside a True Shot window, just whenever you spend focus in general. On the left hand side, we have Eagle Talons True Focus. True Shot lasts additional 3 seconds, reduces the focus cast of aim shot by 50%. And causes Arcane Shot, Chimera Shot, Multi-Shot to be cast again at 30% effectiveness. You also have Unerring Vision, where while True Shot is active, you get 1% critical strike chance and critical strike damage every 1 second, stacking up to 10 times, which gives you even more crit-based interactions. The middle row talent, very similar to Beast Mastery, I think is going to be the talents that you'll always invest into, and you'll either complement them with the right-hand side or left-hand side talents, either going all the way down to Readiness, or maybe Small Game Hunter, and maybe even Salvo for AoE content, but you can kind of see how Marksmanship Hunter is laid out with this step of a setup. Now, I try to test out all of the new talents when it comes to actually trying this build in dungeons, and for the most part, I gotta say, Marksmanship has a very similar experience as Beast Mastery, as in you're walking into this class, rapid fire, aim shot, arcane shot, multi-shot, volley, salvo, all of these things are still baseline the same. However, the talents that you can pick up can really augment that gameplay, making multi-shot your primary ability in pure single target when you do get precise shots. Never having to cast arcane shot again feels weird, but also feels kind of good and allows you to utilize talents such as Bulletstorm in a very different way that gives you a very bursty type of scenario and bursty type of output. So I actually enjoyed the whole small game hunter type of playstyle all in all. Overall, there's a lot of cool ideas when it comes to Marksmanship Hunter. They're not trying to reinvent the wheel, and a lot of the abilities you'll use in a very similar way. So if you're playing Marksmanship Hunter right now in Dragonflight, a lot of the skills you develop now will transfer on into the next expansion easily, but you'll now be able to draw from different talents and different options to create additional depth when it comes to that Marksmanship Hunter gameplay, so you can really help customize exactly what type of a hunter you want to be playing in the next expansion. And I really like seeing that and experimenting with stuff like this, and this is a trend we've seen with a bunch of different specs so far. And no other spec really highlights that idea of taking all the things you know and then finding new ways to use them than with Survival Hunter. Unlike all the other Hunter specs, Survival has seen more than just talent adjustments, which is getting a whole new talent tree, but also you have things such as a brand new Mastery effect. Your Mastery now reads, Mastery Spirit Bond. You and your pet deal 15% increased damage and take 3% reduced damage. This bonus is increased by 100% when you're within 25 yards of each other. Now, survival hunters do have quite a bit of range to a lot of their abilities, where they can technically attack enemies from a distance with their grenades, with their serpent stings, kill shots, and all the other range-based abilities. There is quite a bit of range for this melee type of hunter, but your master will now reward you for getting up close in melee, and it does even give you a little bit of this 25-yard range. So if you can just stay outside of that 25-yard range, or rather within that 25-yard range, you can still get the full benefits of mastery while being able to stay away from a melee combatant in things like PvP combat. But it still encourages you to want to be a melee class, to really get up close and personal, but it makes it safer for you to do so. As you do more damage, but you also take less damage, but putting yourself in danger, survival hunters may actually be able to live to the spec name of survival. They're learning how to survive in the harshest of environments. A ranged class being forced to melee is now given a passive defensive in order to be able to outlast some of the harshest conditions, and I love the flavor behind the survival mastery. Plus, the mastery now is open to other abilities, because previously it just worked for focus-based abilities, so things such as your kill command, your grenades, some of your other abilities just didn't add damage towards that mastery, but now every ability benefits this mastery. The only question is, how good of scaling is the stat gonna have for the spec going forward? Now, as for the actual talents, they start out kind of slow with things such as your kill command, that goes into Raptor Strike, that goes into Tip the Spear. Though Tip the Spear is already pretty different from the get-go, and this whole right-hand side really does start to evolve. So Tip the Spear is an ability that allows you kill commands to increase the direct damage of your other abilities by 15%, stacking up to 3 times. And there's even more depth to it with Flanker's Advantage. Kill command has an additional 10% chance to immediately reset its cooldown whenever you use the ability, increased by 100% when kill command critically strikes a target. Tip of the Spear damage bonus is increased by 100% based on your critical strike chance. So the more crit you have, the more damage Tip of the Spear is going to do, which gives survival hunters even more of that crit interactivity. On the left hand side, we have things such as Wildfire Bomb, which actually transforms pretty early on into a Shrapnel Bomb, the one that allows you to put up bleeds against the enemy targets. They took out the other bombs. The Toxic Bomb is no longer in the game, neither is the Pet Bomb with pheromones. Now you just have the Shrapnel Bomb, which allows you to consistently apply bleeds to enemy targets, so you always have that extra damage over time effect. Now, the bombs have been adjusted in a way where you'll still apply new ways to put up poisons on enemy targets fairly easily as we get through some of the talents. And there's new ways to interact with your pets, so you can always get those kill commands more regularly. They just adjusted in different talent locations, so you don't necessarily need those bombs as part of the gameplay. Plus, it improves the consistency of Wildfire Bomb completely. Below that, we have Guerrilla Tactics, which gives Wildfire Bomb a second charge and additional damage. And below that, we have Lunge, which allows you to reduce the cooldown of Wildfire Bomb while attacking with two-handed weapons. Or Quick Shot, where whenever kill command's cooldown is reset, you have a 30% chance to fire off an arcane shot at your target that does 100% of normal damage, but there's also other talents that can help modify it further. And then from there, we got a whole new array of talents in the second row. Left hand side, we have the whole bomb and quick shot type of gameplay, and off of Lunge we can pick up things such as Wildfire Infusion. Mongoose Bite and Raptor Strike have a 50% chance to reset kill command's cooldown, which gives you more reasons to use kill command as an ability. And Kill Command reduces the cooldown of Wildfire Bomb, so a bit more interactivity between abilities. To the right of that, we have improved Wildfire Bomb, which simply increases its damage. To the right of that, we have Sulfur-Lined Pockets, where every 3 quick shots, it is then replaced with an explosive shot at 100% effectiveness. So instead of firing off those pea shooter arcane shots, you can instead then gain an explosive shot that happens for free automatically. To the right of that, we have Butchery, which is going to be how you'll be able to AoE enemies. No longer do you have to spec between Butchery and Carve. Now Butchery just becomes a staple ability that all survival hunters are going to be able to utilize. To the right of that, right below, your Mungus Bite will have Bloody Claws, where each stack of Mungus Fury increases your chance for Kill Command to reset, which again, more Kill Command interactions to make it a little more consistent. To the right of that, we have Alpha Predator, where Kill Command now has 2 charges and deals additional damage. And to the right of that, we have the trusty Harpoon. In the next row, we have things such as utilitarian stuff, such as Aspect of the Eagle, which increases the range of Raptor Strike on Mungus Bite for a limited time. On the right hand side, we have Terms of Engagement, which is the same talent upgrade from Harpoon that allows you to generate additional damage, reduces the cooldown of Harpoon, grants you additional focus over time, and whenever you kill an enemy, you get a reset of the ability of Harpoon. From there on, though, the talents get quite a bit more complex. Going from Wildfire Infusion, we have a new talent of Grenade Juggler. Wildfire Bomb deals 5% increased damage and has a 25% chance to reset the cooldown of Explosive Shot. Explosive Shot reduces the cooldown of Wildfire Bomb by 4 seconds, so if you want to play into explosives and grenades, there's now a lot more interconnectivity between these, and even with the talent of Sulfur-Lined Pockets. To the right of that, we have Flank and Strike, which does about the same thing as before. You and your pet both leap out doing physical damage. Tip the Spear grants an additional 50% damage bonus to Flanking Strike in particular, so if you can build up Tip the Spear and use Flank and Strike, this ability can gain quite a bit of additional value. To the right of that, we have a couple of talents that can amplify Butchery, things such as Frenzy Strikes, where Butchery reduces the remaining cooldown of Wildfire Bomb and Flank and Strike by 1 second for each target you hit up to 5, so some cooldown reduction there. Or you can modify it where Merciless Blows causes Butchery to make an extra Raptor Strike or Mungus Bite hit 3 nearby targets. So if you want even more cleave and you want to invest into a Mungus Bite build, you can easily do so with Butchery, where you can now cleave multiple targets at once. To the right of that, we have some damage over time components such as Viper's Venom. Raptor Strike and Mungus Bite apply Serpent Sting to your target, which deals damage over time and quite a hefty bit of damage for survival specifically. To the right of that, we have Bloodseeker, where Kill Command causes the enemy to bleed over 8 seconds. You and your pet also gain attack speed for every bleeding enemy from this effect within 12 yards. And in the next row afterwards, we have even more upgrade talents such as Ranger, which buffs the damage of Kill Shot, Serpent Sting, Arcane Shot, Steady Shot, Explosive Shot, all making him deal 20% additional damage. Right below Flank and Strike, we have a new upgrade talent called Exposed Flank. Your Flank and Strike exposes weakness in your enemy's defenses, increasing the damage of Kill Commands by 10%, causing them to also cleave 2 nearby targets for 10 seconds, which is even more interaction between how Flank and Strike and Kill Commands can now interact together all at the same time. Right below that, we have Tactical Advantage, where damage of Flank and Strike is increased, but also the damage of Wildfire Bomb is increased by 5%. To the right of that, we have Second, where Kill Shot Critical Strikes reset the cooldown of Kill Command, even more Kill Command interactions. To the right of that, right below Viper's Venom, is Contagious Reagents. Reapplying Serpent Sting to a target also spreads it to 2 nearby enemies, so as you're Mungus biting that target, you are able to apply dot on them. If they're already dotted, you can re-spread it to multiple targets, and if you combine talents such as Butchery, so your Mungus Bite or Raptor Strike Cleave, you can apply that to even more targets to really poison everybody all around you, even more interconnectivity within your talents and abilities. To the right of that, we have Outland Venom. Each damage over time effect on a target increases the critical strike damage they receive from you by 2%. So for every single dot that you have on the target, you do more crit damage, which again, survival, marksman, beast mastery, all hunter specs are now starting to become even more crit sensitive. And then we get towards some of the capstone options, which are going to be very similar for beast mastery, marksmanship, but also survival, where you have the middle row, which is going to be the most flexible one, but maybe for survival that's a little bit different this time around, however, as these are still more specialized like before. On the right hand side, we have Killer Companion, which buffs up the damage of your kill command by up to 10%. Below that, we have Spearhead, where you and your pet charge the enemy, applying a heavy bleed that increases your chance to critical strike the enemy by 30% for 10 seconds, which gives you big single target damage value. Below that is Deadly Duo. The cooldown of Spearhead is reduced down to 1 minute, and Spearhead's bleed now increases critical strike damage against the target by 30%. So not only do you deal more crit chances, but also you just shred that target with more crit damage, again even more critical strike interactions in a pure single target scenario. On the left hand side we have Explosive Expert, which reduces the cooldown of Wildfire Bomb by 1 second, which goes into Fury of the Eagle, an ability every 45 seconds that does quite a bit of physical damage, cleaving enemies. Critical strike chance is increased by 50% against any low health targets. Kill Command also helps reduce the cooldown of Fury of the Eagle. You can also buff the crit chance of this ability further with Ruthless Marauder, which can increase its critical strike chance against targets below 35% and 50% health, but also any crits from Fury of the Eagle help reduce the cooldown of Wildfire Bomb and Flanking Strike by 1 second, which gives you quite a bit of that cleave and AoE potential. However, the middle row is going to be slightly familiar, but also different at the same time. Even more ways to customize your Hunter with Sweeping Spear. Raptor Strike, Mongoose Bite, and Butchery damage is increased by 1%. Pretty sure that number is a placeholder, used to be 0, now it's up to 1. They gotta hotfix it, but it's gonna be probably like, 5 or 10% or something along those lines. Further down we have Coordinated Assault. You and your pet charge at the enemy, doing a bunch of physical damage combined together. You and your pet now strengthen each other for 20 seconds, where your pet's basic attacks can either empower your Wildfire Bombs to deal 20% more initial damage, or Kill Shot's gonna play a bleed, which again can synergize with a couple of other talents that we've already discovered here. So Coordinated Assault for the most part is about the same. Bottom right hand side is Bombardier, which is a little different. When you cast Coordinated Assault, you get 2 charges of Wildfire Bomb. When Coordinated Assault ends, Explosive Shot has its cooldown reduced by 100%, and its focus cost reduced by 100% for 4 seconds, which allows you to just unleash a bunch of explosive shots back to back to back. Left hand side finds new ways to modify the ability of Coordinated Assault, either with Relentless Primal Ferocity. Coordinated Assault sends you and your pet into a state of primal power. For the duration of Coordinated Assault, Kill Command generates 1 additional stack of Tip of the Spear, which increases the damage of your next ability by a set amount, and you'll also gain 10% haste, and Tip the Spear's damage bonus is increased by 50%, so you could really just go into Kill Command, then follow up with a powerful ability, then Kill Command again, then yet another ability, so you can chain a bunch of Mongoose Bites back to back, bunch of grenades back to back. If you get a combo together with some of the other abilities, you might be able to chain a bunch of stuff also from Kill Command back to back. So that type of playstyle that I think was originally as part of Spearhead is now can be part to make your Coordinated Assault even burstier than before. Or instead, you can go with Symbiotic Adrenaline, which reduces the cooldown of Coordinated Assault by 60 seconds. So you can now have, instead of a 2-minute window, 1-minute burst window as a survival hunter, which gives you so many new ways for you to customize all of your talents and abilities. As for how the spec plays, this one I feel like I would say plays the most differently compared to everybody else. Survival has gone through quite a number of changes with this most recent build. Out of all the hunter specs too, Survival has probably the most amount of inter-ability interactions. Just like Beast Mastery, just like Marksmanship, you're not necessarily adding a lot more abilities into your core kit, but rather how these abilities interact with one another is a lot more complex and a lot more in-depth. And there's quite a bit of depth where it can be almost described as complexity, as in like there's so many different ways that all these abilities can weave together. But it also gives you a lot of options of how you can focus on your hunter build. If you want to be more single target heavy with a Mongoose Bite and Kill Command, you could totally invest into these talents. If you want to be more damage over time heavy with your grenades and poisons and be able to spread that damage in a more focused way, you could totally do that. If you want to make a build that's all about kill commands and grenades and having those reset with explosive shots on top of it, you could totally do that as well. And there's just so much more playability between all of these talents, and there's quite a bit of interconnectivity between all of these different builds and concepts and playstyles that it's actually kind of exciting to experiment with. I think the amount of depth being added for survival in particular compared to the other specs is maybe a bit of an overload if you've never played survival before. But it's also awesome to see that survival for the first time I think in a while kind of feels a bit more cohesive. Whether we're talking about capstone options down below, some of the middle tier talents, or some of the earlier options, a lot of them can play off of one another and gives you so many different routes of how you can fully customize your perfect hunter build. And I love that about this version of survival. There's a lot of new additions in this new build, and there's a lot for us to digest but off the bat, my early impressions of this have been generally positive, and I'm excited about some of the additional depth without adding the top-end complexity that they're able to accomplish with this build yet again. And I feel like they've done a pretty good job for a lot of the classes so far in the War Within Alpha as well as Beta, and I'm very excited to see the Hunters at least are getting a pretty big, pretty cohesive rework when it comes to all of their talents, whether it is class talents, spec talents, and I'm excited to see how the specs are going to shape up going forward, and then further enhanced by their hero talents, which we haven't even talked about in today's video, but I'm sure those will also go through changes as we get additional adjustments and updates to the base spec talent trees. With that being said, you guys know my opinions on the Hunter. You heard me blab about him for quite a bit, but at the end of the day, who cares about what I think? I want to hear what you guys think about all these changes in the comments down below. What are your thoughts on the changes coming to Survival, Marksmanship, and Beast Mastery, as well as all the changes in their class tree? What are some of the talent choices that you like, and what are your thoughts about how each and every single one of them is gonna play? Let me know your thoughts and first impressions about everything we've seen so far in the comments down below. As per usual, if you guys enjoyed this video or found it informative, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate it. And as always, in the description of every single video and live stream, we have a link to our Discord community channel. Probably the best place to reach out to me directly in case you want to let me know what you thought about this video or hang out with the rest of the community to discuss some of the upcoming changes. Join our Discord to become part of the community. But otherwise, thank you all so much for watching this video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know all of your thoughts down below. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in another video.